Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is I. Yes, it is me, Brennon, here again with week four. Week four of the rap recap. Of course, I haven't done it all 4 weeks, but I'm trying to get back into the rhythm of things. This is the second week in a row, so rhythm has been established and started. I'm feeling good. I hope you're feeling good. I'm not feeling good because of my team. However, as you can see by this score at the top of the screen, I decided to try a different format this week. As I've been trying things, I saw that between the three videos that I did last week for the different leagues, that there was only 2 views for all three videos. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit different this week if you are interested in viewing the rap recap, Ray review, and ran rundown. I'm going to try to keep things shorter, more interactive, and I'm giving you a visual of what it is I'm looking at instead of looking at my ugly face for 15 to 30 minutes. So, I'm doing a screen recording here of all of the scores from week four so you can see and have a visual of what the teams did and how they were looking this past week. So, as you can see, the River City Rollers, took a very disturbing loss against the Chicago Rock Stars, aka David Wilson, aka D Will, 238 to 80, 238.82 to 176.9. Josh Allen did not show up. And if you go look at the matchup recap here, you can actually see highlighted. Oh yeah, one of the most valuable bench warmers there, Justin Fields, right there. And guess who's one of the highest false starters? Josh Allen, right there. Now, would that extra 28 points have helped me in my matchup to win? No. I still would have got scraped by 40 points. But it would have felt a little bit better. At least I would have touched 200 points instead of this nasty 176. In the meantime, D Will, good win for you. Saw it coming at the beginning of the week as all of my players decided they wanted to get injured in the middle of the week or at the end of last week. Max Crosby was out. Leonard Williams was out. Hafanga was out after he just got healthy. Micah Parsons got hurt. Devontae Adams got hurt. Who else got hurt? Julian Love hurt his thigh. I don't know what the update is on that. So, not just injuries across the roster, but major injuries for major point producing players, along with lackluster performances from Josh Allen and others. Ezekiel Elliott has officially been cut. He has been underperforming for way too long. Calvin Ridley, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I had very high hopes for Calvin Ridley. I drafted him in all 4 leagues. However, he's not been producing, and I don't blame him. He's only gotten 19 targets in 4 games, so 4 targets a game, or 5 targets a game. A lot of that is because the offense is just terrible. Shout out to Will Levis. He's got new memes every week. I don't know what the meme is going to be this week. I'm sure it's going to be fire. But he has more memes than touchdown passes. And more than likely, he's going to end up getting benched. Brian Callahan said he's going to be the starter going into week 6 after the bye week. We'll see how that pans out. But that offense is nothing what I expected it to be. So Calvin Ridley is nothing like what I expected him to be. It was interesting to see Xavier Legette pop out. 6 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. I think with a competent quarterback who's confident and comfortable in the offense, and Xavier Legette having more targets because Adam Thielen is out with injury, that he can help me boost my receiving core and possibly replace Ridley. I don't know what's happening with Devontae Adams. My week is getting just worse and worse I went from potentially being 2-1 in rap to getting a stat correction 2 days later or 3 days later, taking me from 2-1 and being in a comfortable position to 1-2. And then all the injuries commence. And now the star receiver on the team that I'm a fan of is demanding a trade. So I don't know how my season did a 180 so quickly or why. I don't know what kind of karma I brought about. I thought I'd been praying and pursuing God. So maybe he's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But nevertheless, Brock Bowers, he didn't do nothing for me. Michael Wilson had 9 targets last week, something like that. Oh, yeah, 9 targets last week and turned that into 8 catches. Then he had 7 targets this week and did nothing with it. Trenton Simpson has been nothing like what I expected playing alongside Roquan. He only gave me 5 points. Just a disastrous week. And TJ Watt, I'm questioning whether it was worth trading what I traded for him, getting rid of Kyle Hamilton and Michael McFadden and Will Anderson for him to give me 2 points. So, yeah, it's looking pretty ugly. And it's like this for me in every other league. I had good eyes with Tyrese Knight. I knew he was going to be something if he got his opportunity to play. Isaiah Polamau, obviously he's a Raider, so I knew what he was capable of. But yeah, it's just ugly. Ugly. Justin Fields. So I repeat, Josh Allen is on the block, and I will add that Justin Fields is also on the block because I need help bad. In the meantime, going back to D. Will, Justin Jefferson is balling as expected. Shout out to those who doubted Sam Darnold. That offense and that team is looking very good. Zach Moss did his thing. Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year, front runner as I expected. Malik Neighbors, as I did not expect. He's balling. I knew he was going to be okay, but I honestly didn't see the top 5 receiver capability that everybody else saw, and I'm seeing it now. I'm a believer. I've been converted. Terry McLaurin is getting on the same page with Jaden Daniel, and he's starting to reap the benefits, so that's good to see. And yeah, the rest of the squad did what they were supposed to do to get a win against me. Not maybe against other opponents. You had a couple of single-digit guys that, maybe troublesome down the road, but you did enough to beat the opponent that was in front of you. So kudos to you for the win, D. Will. Queens Brigade took the L. The defending champ, Janine Truesdale, against Cortez Jackson, a.k.a. the Tribal Chief. I don't think this one was particularly close in the afternoon and evening games, primarily because, as you can see, Kyler Murray here, only 11.98 points. Janine had been riding a hot hand with Kamara and Marvin Harrison Jr., and they still had solid performances, but the secondary guys, the role players didn't play their roles. JSN only 9 points. We keep waiting for him to take over as the true number 2 in that offense, maybe the number 1. He has the potential and athleticism from what I see on film to be the number 1 and be a top guy in the league, but I don't know if it's because of the targets to DK or the offense just not being catered to him. I don't know. It's just going to be a rocky road all season with him. Bucky Irvin is starting to take over that number 1 spot at running back in Tampa. Kaiser White performing well at linebacker. Yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible performance from guys, but the guys that didn't show up really didn't show up. Greg Rousseau, Daniil Hunter has been a bust for everybody who owns him. I've got him in 2 leagues. He's been letting me down too. DB's pretty solid. But yeah, just not enough this week from the offensive guys to compete. Meanwhile, not the best performance from Tez's roster either, but when you got Jordan Mason give you 25 in a reserve role behind CMC, your team has a chance. Good pickup with Trey Tucker. Of course, I wanted to get him with Devontae Adams out, but you beat me to it. Brian Thomas looks like he's starting to assert himself as a possible number one option in Jacksonville, even though Christian Kirk has been getting his targets as well. They might just be a 1-2 punch. Xavier Worthy, he's going to have to take over with Rashee Rice possibly being out for the season and Marquise Brown possibly being out for the season. They're going to have to thrust him into that number one role a lot quicker than they probably wanted to. So even though he got almost 20 points on 3 targets or 3 catches, he might have to get more targets and more catches to be more helpful for that offense. So that was a good game for him. Zaire Franklin, Cameron Bynum did his thing. I think he's the number one safety right now. No, only 13. Okay. He's definitely been balling, but he's had some lesser weeks the first 2 weeks. So I think he's starting to get back into his rhythm now. I definitely thought he was higher than 13, but that's coming. He's going to work his way into the top 10, possibly top 5 before the end of the year. Good pickup with Ventrell Miller. Probably was the difference in the game. Filling in for Foye Oluokun. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Oluokun. And also for Devin Lloyd, who was also a last-minute scratch for Jacksonville. So good pickup on that, Tiz. 21 points. That would be 22-12. Yeah. Without that pickup, you probably lose this matchup. So good job, as you always scour the waiver wire. Good pickup on that. A good matchup here between Zach and Kevin. Definitely was coming down to the Monday night games. David Montgomery. I think there was one other player that Zach had that made the difference on Monday. Not Tyler Lockett. Was it somebody else? I should have took notes, but yep, Kirby Joseph. 21 points from him. So even though those guys were rallying, and Kevin wasn't getting any production. He got a goose egg from Aiden Hutchinson. It made the matchup close, but Kevin had built a substantial enough lead with the other guys to keep him in the winner's circle. So Andy Dalton, solid pickup, 19.7 points. Doesn't have to be flashy or special, the 25 to 30 range. If he can get you a solid 15 to 20 every week, you've got enough other players on the defensive side to help compensate for what you're lacking on the offensive side. Brian Robinson Jr., he can give you 15 to 20 a week, 12 to 20, somewhere like that, double-digit scores. Chris Olave, if he's getting his targets, he'll help you out. And the offense can help keep you afloat long enough for the defense to bring you on home. Christian Kirk, 15 points. Freiermuth, an unexpected 14.2. That definitely made a difference as well. So yeah, really good matchup, really good performances from both teams. I really wish I would have got on the Jermaine Pratt bandwagon like I did last year. I was just nervous to draft him this year, and I'm paying the price for it. So Cincinnati has 2 top 10 fantasy linebackers, and I've got egg on my face because I'm missing linebackers in every league. Quay Walker, 19 points for Zach. Kyle Hamilton, I miss you, bud. Good performance, 15 points. Myles Garrett, 14. Jordan Brooks, 29.5. I don't know. I was just nervous about him being in Miami. And again, another linebacker I completely missed on. Cashman, 20 points. Michael McFadden, another casualty of the trade I made for TJ Watt. He gave Kevin 14 points. And Eric Kendricks goes for 19.5. Why you have Eric Kendricks in your flex instead of as a starter over Troy Reader? I don't know. I never understood that logic. Maybe Dallas had a later game. I don't know if you were concerned about an injury. I don't know what the rationale is, but as long as he's starting, giving you points, good for you. Bench points. Had a lot of points on the bench too. So Kevin, as always, has a interesting team. Definitely not as good of a team as in seasons past out of the draft, but working your way into contention again. Um, the Jump Out Boys against the Kimball Nightmare. Probably the matchup of the week, despite the lowest score. Definitely came down to the wire. Final plays of the final games of the week on Monday night. Somewhat of a rivalry as well. Both owners, CJ Matthews of the Jump Out Boys and DV Deuce Greer of Kimball Nightmare. They've been sniping at each other in the recent seasons in the chat. Not really sure why, not really sure what sparked it, but probably more so CJ taking shots at Deuce for whatever slight Deuce gave to CJ. I don't know. But CJ ended up edging out the victory in the final seconds of the matchup, 222.02 to 220.68. Ironically, Dak Prescott is on CJ's team, even though CJ has ended his affiliation with the Cowboys and joined Raider Nation. 23.74 points for Dak. Stephon Diggs went for 16 points. He's been doing really well in Houston, despite not necessarily being the number one guy with Nico Collins and Tank Dell there. Nico Collins specifically, still been getting his production, which I'm sure he's excited about, being on a winning team and getting his touches. Rashid Shaheed went for 14.38 points. He's been getting a lot of targets, which I definitely didn't expect. I thought he would be more of a gadget slash deep threat receiver in New Orleans, but he's been doing his thing. That offense in New Orleans altogether has just been revamped under I forget who the OC is there. Clint Kubiak. He's got that offense looking night and day different. Tajay Spears went for 10.9 points. In an ugly win for the Titans over Miami. Anzalone 14, Denzel Perryman 14. Troy Anderson, definitely the unexpected winner of this matchup. 42 points. If he does anything less, even if he just does his norm or his regular ceiling of like 20, maybe 25 points, CJ loses this matchup. So that's definitely the key player of the matchup. He had a pick six, I believe, and 17 tackles. Crazy. Minka Fitzpatrick looks like Minka Fitzpatrick, 15 points. And left some juice on the bench with Justice Hill giving you 18, which could have helped you in the flex as well. But nevertheless, the lineup you needed to play to win was the lineup you played, and you got the dub. Caleb Williams as the starter for Deuce. I think it's worked so far because Deuce was 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. Look at the standings in a second. But that's premised heavily on whether the defense shows up for Deuce. He has a heavy defensive roster. And as you can see, the defense did not show up for Deuce this week. A lot of single-digit scores. The double-digit scores are very low, except for Nick Cross, who gave you 19 points. So the offense is very shaky. J.K. Dobbins is starting to cool off. I don't know if it's just him and the offense or if defensive coordinators are catching up to what the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh had in store scheme-wise. But definitely need more help than just CeeDee Lamb and Kyron Williams doing their thing. Even though DeAndre Swift went off. In a week where DeAndre Swift went off the way that he did, to have the rest of the team lay eggs the way that they did, it's unfortunate for Deuce. But he'll be all right. He's a champion, and he always has good teams that get him to the playoffs. So we'll see how that pans out. The Locks versus Rob's Devil Pugs. Locks got the easy win, 293.5 to 211. I don't think this one was particularly close. Everybody went off for SIP. Derrick Henry had the 95-yard touchdown to get things started with the Ravens game on Sunday night. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin. Mike Evans, I mean, take your pick. Everybody did the thing. Chuba Hubbard had a really good performance against Cincinnati. He's re-energized in that Panthers offense since they sat Bryce down. Shoot. Bobby Wagner, 21.5 points. Everybody contributed. Everybody got in on the fun. And a lot of these names are not names you would expect to be high-end fantasy producers historically. But when they all have done their job and they all produce, it just takes 2 or 3 of them to go off for the team to have high production. So kudos to Sip for putting a good team together. I stand corrected on the draft approach. It seems to be working for you as you're undefeated. Meanwhile, Rob Jordan, 23.28 from Burrow. Spoke on Nick Collins a second ago, 29.1. Levante David, 28 points. Yeah, I mean, you had some good performances, but you had a lot of duds throughout the entire defense, it seems. Here, Jabril Peppers gave you 19, and that was pretty much it on defense outside Levante David. So, good offensive performances from some guys. 2 guys gave you good defensive performances, and then the rest were just like, yeah, we're going to take this week off. So I know the pain, bro. I feel you. Low end matchup here. I call this one the race to relegation. 2 owners on the fast track to being in Ray next season, and it seems one owner wants to go more than the other owner. I actually offered D Block Penitentiary a trade, aka Quincy. He declined the trade. Offered no commentary, no response, no DM, no nothing. Just decline. So I don't know. Some owners just don't want to be good, and it seems like that's been Quincy's fate since he's been in rap. I've actually considered replacing him, and he's showing in various ways why replacing him was probably the best approach. Starting 0-4. I'm not having a good season myself, but I'm trying. I'm making an effort, and I don't see effort here. Brock Purdy, 1 CMC, and Debo got banged up, and even George Kittle getting banged up. You would think more moves would be made, more efforts, but the combo of Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk ain't cutting it for this squad. Jahmyr Gibbs and Aaron Jones, good 1-2 punch at running back. Definitely some value there for a trade or something. But yeah, nothing. Garrett Wilson is going to probably underwhelm throughout the season because of the lack of a strong number 2 option to take pressure off of him in the passing game. Unless Mike Williams starts to come along a little bit more. T. Higgins, you would think he would pick up a little bit more as well, being alongside Jamar Chase. I don't know. I don't know what's leading to 0-4 completely. TJ Edwards goes for 13. Nobody else on the defense does much anything except PJ Locke, who you got off the wire. A couple double-digit guys in the defensive flex. But a win is a win for Q, and Q is making efforts. He's in a lot of DMs. He's getting a lot of trade talks going. So effort is being made, which I appreciate. CJ Stroud, 29.5 points. Metcalf had a night. If he threw a touchdown on there, it would have been a really good performance. But 12.9 points is still solid for 100 yards. George Kittle, Cortland Sutton. Everybody, it was a more balanced performance from Q, where even though it was some lower double-digit scores, it was still enough double-digit scores to piece together 222 from enough guys. So it wasn't like it was just 3 or 4 players carrying the roster. It was enough double-digit guys, especially on defense here, as you can see. Good performance from Q. Speaking of the road to relegation or owners that don't care, Negus in Paris, a.k.a. Juan Redmond, takes another loss, albeit against a really, really good performance from a resurgent Jordan Parks, a.k.a. Ray Loco's band of misfits, 266.54. Still a 217. As an owner who put up 176 this week, it's just not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. Haven't seen any trades be made. Haven't seen much activity on the wire outside of like free agents after Wednesday, which you're getting the scraps at that point. I guess just the expectation that, at some point Aaron Rodgers will turn it on. I don't know. I don't know. Tyreek Hill will pop out and carry the roster. I have no idea. But very similar to Quincy in the previous matchup. Not seeing the efforts made to really improve the roster. As y'all can see, the offense is not really there. Defense was more of the focus, but very similar to Deuce. If the defense doesn't show up, what is the team? So Jaquan Brisker went for 31.5 points, double-digit performances from some other guys. Robert Spillane leading the defensive side of scoring, number one overall defensive scorer, gave you 22 points. Quincy Williams, 18. But just not enough from the offense this week or in previous weeks. Meanwhile, Jordan had to be happy with his offensive explosion. Lamar Jackson, Kenneth Walker III, Pollard, Pickens, Jamar Chase, Kelsey, and Jordan Addison, all giving very, very strong performances to carry the band of misfits to a victory. Not much from the defense, but enough to just put some cherries on top of the scores. Double-digit scoring from all of the DBs except one. And decent scoring from a few of the linebackers and the D linemen. So good performance from Jordan. Really encouraging performance after a really crappy start. And he's got his trade talks going as well. And the final performance of the week, I would say the upset of the week. The rookie, Harrison Decker, against TaylorMade Thoroughbreds. We got 2 words for you. 255.42 points to 242 points from Black Rob. Great performance from Harrison. A great stamp on his first month in rap. With Daniel Jones as his starting quarterback, showing the depth and the quality of his draft, as he hasn't made very many roster moves himself. Very big bank on Jameson Williams. Seems to be paying off thus far, even though he only had 2 receptions in this matchup. And 13 receptions on the year is still enough receptions to put him in the top 15 in receivers because of his explosiveness and big play potential. He led the offense with 20 points. Oh, no, Chase Brown, 24.28 points for Cincinnati. And as I watched that game, because I watched the whole Carolina-Cincy game, Chase Brown was definitely just chunking away at Carolina. He didn't have a lot of big runs. He didn't have a lot of impressive runs, but a lot of paper cuts, 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, and then punching the ball in on those touchdown runs. Really, really solid performance from Chase Brown. That probably was the difference in the matchup. I don't think either Harrison or Black Rob would have expected Chase Brown to go for 24, almost 25 points. Definitely, I would say the difference. Couple of injuries here with Rashee Rice and Jonathan Taylor of note. Definitely something to pay attention to in the coming weeks, because Rashee Rice ain't going to be back. Jonathan Taylor, he's week to week. And with Daniel Jones at quarterback, there's some work to be done there. So, but for this week, enough for the victory. EJ Speed, Cora Moore, Nakobe Dean, all double-digit scores at linebacker. Really good performances from his defensive backs, Buda Baker and Carlton Davis. Davis was balling in that Monday night game, even though he got a little handsy and got some flags. His aggressive play definitely paid off for the victory in real life, as well as victory for Harrison in fantasy. Still a solid performance from Black Rob. All his linebackers stood up as well. His DBs popped out for him as well. Just not the same explosive performances on offense. And it wasn't by a wide margin. It was close. But those offensive guys were the difference for Harrison, which has been the pattern for Black Rob in past seasons. Josh Allen or bust as far as the offense, and then lean on the defense. Maybe some random good performances from random offensive players. has panned out for him for most weeks and gotten him deep into the playoffs most seasons. But weeks like this, when the other opponent has a more balanced approach and performance from more guys, it doesn't work out. So that's my recap for rap this week. Looking at the standings here, Jordan kind of mentioned it in the Discord. We got some surprise guys at the top of the division. CJ, not so much a surprise anymore. As I've said many times in recent seasons, he is the Detroit Lions. He's kind of expected to be in contention for his division and for the championship overall from his improvement from 3 seasons ago. We also got D. Will, who is leading his division. Honestly, was not seeing that one coming. Only 1 game difference. However, still very good start. Very strong start for the Chicago Rock Stars at 3-1. And he's not forcing the most points, but he is putting up quite a bit, putting him in the middle of the pack as far as points forced. Harrison Decker leading the black hole, primarily because Tez was about to start 1-3, possibly 0-3, 1-4, 0-4 or 1-3 at this point in the season, if not for a stat correction and a good win this week against Queen Elizabeth. And then Sip rebounding from a very crushing championship defeat last season to be 4-0 to lead the jungle with some quality owners over there. He's creating some space and some distance as far as the win-loss record going into the middle stretch of the season and pushing for a good playoff seed. However, his points forced, not very impressive in comparison to the other owners in the league and in his division. So that's it. I didn't have much else. I'm at 30 minutes. Pretty good. I don't really pay too much attention to the power rankings as we did when it first dropped. I'm probably gonna, they got me finishing 15th versus some of the other owners I mentioned. That's not gonna happen. I anticipate still fighting for a playoff spot, try to get 1 or 2 more trades, just assessing players at this point, seeing how things pan out. But nevertheless, this was your rap recap for week 4 of the 2024 season. Any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, feelings, etc., DM me on Discord or shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger. Any other personal conversation you want to have, you can hit me on my personal line if you have that. Hope all is well with y'all this week. I'll holler at y'all next week. Peace.